What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through today's 10-game slate in the association. Big slate, lots of teams involved in front end of back-to-backs. The Boston Celtics involved in the back end of a back-to-back here. So lots of injury news to pay attention to, lots of rotation notes. With me to cover it, as always, Mike Gallagher. Mike, how are you doing?
Yeah, doing pretty well. A lot of illness tags out there, so maybe we get more. We've seen a lot of midday downgrades, so yeah, you got to be on your toes this time of day. Had a great props day yesterday. Felt really good about the card we put out, so feeling pretty good today.
Yep. Just to catch up on the schedule before we get into the game by game notes. Teams on the front end of a back-to-back tonight: Utah, Minnesota, the Lakers, the Clippers, Indiana, Cleveland, Orlando, and Chicago, all on the front end of back-to-backs, and Boston on the back end of a back-to-back. So you could see a little bit of variance or volatility in the rotations on those teams involved on the front end of the back-to-back. Let's get into the game-by-game stuff. Let's start with Charlotte and Indiana. On the Charlotte side of things, Gordon Hayward listed probable with that stomach virus that cost him last game. We saw the progression. Last game was a probable tag that was downgraded to a questionable tag that was downgraded to out. So starting with a probable tag, a little disconcerting. Mark Williams still doubtful here. They're still without LaMelo Ball, of course. What are your notes on the Hornets?
Yeah, and we get Miles Bridges back and couldn't go to Toronto for the travel restrictions there. Also, yeah, this is kind of the first time in a while we've seen him healthy. Like before Hayward got ill, PJ Washington was dinged up. Miles was out. Hayward missed a couple games, as you mentioned. So yeah, they are going to be pretty whole. We'll see if they bring in JT Thor. We saw Nick Mensa when PJ Washington was out to cut into Thor more than we thought. And then also should note, Terry Rozier got that probable tag last game for his left thumb. He was heavily bandaged on that left thumb, so I did want to note that. And I was actually going to cover boy him, but I didn't like that thumb being so heavily wrapped. Is non-shooting, but yeah, Hayward's stomach illness missed a little bit of time here, so I could see him being a little bit limited. Certainly expect him to start. Obviously, this matchup is fantastic against the Pacers and their horrendous defense with fast pace. So could see a little bit of a tighter rotation. Maybe they add a little bit more with Hayward being ill and missing some time. Do expect him to return here after missing a couple. And maybe it takes a little bit of upside off of Brandon Miller, PJ Washington, and those guys.
Homecoming game for Gordon Hayward as well, going back to Indiana. On the Indiana side of things, lots of questionable tags here, mostly related to their G Leaguers, but you've got a questionable tag on Miles Turner, Jalen Smith. They're still without Andrew Nembhard here. And then on the G Leaguers note, added into the G League questionable tags was Jarris Walker, which I assume is a good sign for the availability of Jalen Smith. But what are your notes here on the Pacers?
Yeah, let's start with what happened on Monday. And it was quite tilting because we talked about this. We talked about how the Pacers, for years now, have listed their G League guys as questionable. Now on Monday, all out of the blue, the clear blue, on the 5:30 injury report, they didn't have Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd on the injury report, and then they upgraded them to out of nowhere, and that really hurt us because we had a TJ McConnell under that got a little bit worse with that news. So they added him to questionable today. That's basically the first time they've done it. They're a G League showcase for the Indiana Mad Ants, no longer the Fort Wayne Mad Ants. So that's something to watch. I don't think they're going to have him. So as you mentioned, Jalen Smith's timeline is kind of right on time here. Could be back. Miles Turner, bilateral hamstring stuff. That's pretty concerning. I definitely think he could miss this game, especially in a back-to-back. So it kind of feels like a one-on, one-off kind of situation, or they might both be off, which would obviously be fantastic news for Isaiah Jackson, who would be an absolute smash. We know Senators against the Hornets are just print fest. So we've got that. And we got Rick Carlisle going off post-game saying that his whole roster wasn't trying hard enough with the exception of Aaron Nesmith and TJ McConnell, which quite obviously means this could be Aaron Nesmith starting over who I would think be Obi Toppin. He was asked about, quote, wholesale changes from one of the beats, and he said it's on the table. So we could see a lot happening here. He also mentioned they could play slower because he doesn't like how this team is getting wrecked on defense. Just give 151. Now, again, when your team gets wrecked, coaches are pissed. They tend to cool off a day later or so. But I actually think Nesmith starts here. at putting my guy Obi Toppin at risk. So yeah, this is a really big spot, really bad defenses, so the payoff could be huge. We'll be talking a lot about this in a couple hours in the DFS show.
Yeah, and a lot of volatility with the Indiana rotation just generally, as we've seen this year. Would note that if it is the same situation as last game, which was no Miles Turner, no Jalen Smith, we saw, Isaiah Jackson still, held to 25 minutes. They still got to fill 23 other center minutes in this spot. There's a lot of Obi Toppin at center
Yeah.
lineups. And so there could be a scenario where, look, it's cleaner to play those if they're without Miles Turner, if they're without Jalen Smith, with starting Obi Toppin off the bench. That also, like, it all kind of works together potentially, which could lead to Isaiah Jackson's minutes ceiling still being unclear, just because it's like legitimate center competition. Whereas if Obi's starting next to him, it's harder for them to cut into Isaiah Jackson's minutes. Because Obi's already next to him. So these are sort of some of the things to kind of watch out for from a rotation perspective on how things could go. But certainly, if the coaching staff is saying they like the way Aaron Nesmith is playing, they would like to play slower.
Mm-hmm.
These are all negatives for what Obi Toppin brings to the table. So he is being put on notice.
Yeah,
Let's
should
move
mention
to
just mention Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown is whenever I'm doing matchups, I'm like, who's Bruce Brown covering? That guy is a candidate to be a cover boy, which is why I almost covered Rozier. So he could get pulled too. He's been terrible. Clearly misses
yeah.
Jokic.
He's lost a lot of his playing time, and
Mhm.
he was even playing in blowout a couple
Yep.
games ago just to get a minute. So you see 20 minutes there. The minutes variance on him has been very high. Benedict Matherin's been playing a little bit better of late on the offensive end, which has led to that as well. Let's move to Miami and Orlando. On the Miami side of things, Jimmy Butler is out with a left calf strain here. Kevin Love is out with a stomach illness. They are listing as available Nikola Jovic and Jamal Cain, two of their G Leaguers. They're listing as questionable Cole Swider. Don't expect Cole Swider to make any appearances tonight, but thought that was notable. RJ Hampton also listed questionable. So we got Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo back last game. We lost Kyle Lowry last game. He's not on the injury report, so we should have him available tonight. But this is sort of how Miami just gets their way through the regular season. We've seen this year after year after year, which is once the injuries start piling up and other guys kind of carry the burden when those guys are off, as soon as the new guys are back, it's almost like, hey, we got to now manage this player who we've been pushing a little bit further. And it's a veteran laden team. So it seems like it's now Jimmy's turn to get some time off with the left calf strain. What are your notes here on the Heat?
Yeah, kind of a lot to go over here. Yeah, Jimmy Castrain, not great. This team just was about to be healthy, and then they lose Jimmy, Kevin Love for the illness. Talk about that. So let's talk about what we saw last game. One that was Tyler Hero returning, and oh boy, he looked really good. Spoelstra said he played him 2 main minutes. He was getting wherever he wanted. They actually flipped the matchups. They actually had Jane McDaniels guarding Hero, and he was killing. I almost find myself for saying my guy on Jane, but I did not. But he was great. And again, minutes could be really high. We saw him flirting with league-leaning minutes. So I could see Hero playing a ton in this spot. Okay, I love the matchup. Very into Hero today. Bam has looked very good as well. Touches were good. Minutes were completely fine. Returning from this 3-time hip thing. And then Kevin Love got the start last game. He's obviously out today. Spoelstra said after the game that it was, quote, mostly because of the matchup. Minnesota's huge. Makes sense. So it felt like he was probably coming out regardless. And then you obviously have the Jimmy stuff. So I think there's two candidates to start for Jimmy. I think most people, myself included, I'm kind of leaning Jaime Jaquez just because he's playing so many minutes. He's playing so well. But we've seen in spots, including the preseason, they would actually start Jay Rich here and then shuffle guys in. So kind of leaning Jaime Jaquez, but I wouldn't be surprised if Jay Rich starts next to Hero and Kyle Lowry. Caleb Martin certainly locked in. Haywood Highsmith, we've seen him play some center minutes. I think he could kind of alleviate some of the no love, so we upped his minutes a little bit. And then Duncan Robinson's minutes really go down when Tyler Hero's back. We know Spoelstra doesn't like to play them together. So, yeah, kind of a lot of moving parts here. The two guys that kind of got an uptick last game are kind of going down and this and that. But, yeah, really good spot for Hero. Very into him today. You muted?
I am muted. Would make some sense to separate Jay Rich from the starting lineup to get a little bit more ball handling in the second unit naturally there. But they've been comfortable with Jaime Jaquez ball handling as well. The thing I will note is that the role that Jaime Jaquez has played a lot in the second units of late has been the Jimmy Butler role in terms of offensive creation and kind of primary offensive usage weapon. So he's kind of fit that role, but also they might say like, look, we need a little bit more punch in the second unit from a scoring perspective. And either way, Jaquez is probably closing, as we've seen kind of repeatedly. So starter minutes are probably there for Jaime Jaquez kind of either way. Orlando side of things, Markel Fultz listed out here. Joe Ingles out as well. Kevon Harris listed out for coach's decision, which I noted before was an unusual listing. They've got a Q tag on Jett Howard for a G League assignment, but really it's just that they're still without Markel Fultz, and we get the return of Wendell Carter Jr. What are your notes here on the Magic?
Yeah, Wendell Carter Jr. back. He will have his minutes monitored. He has been ramping up for a very long time, so he could be pretty full. You know, he was playing 26 or more in every game. He hit like 33, 34 a couple games. We got him at 26, taking into account the minutes monitoring and being a big, but he could blow our minutes away here. The matchup's tricky, right? Like you're probably going to get Bam, but again, Miami's been dead last in rim defense per possession, so really tough to peg. That should push perhaps Goga Batadze from penthouse to outhouse. We saw it was Mo Wagner being the center too before Wendell's injury. So Goga could be completely out of the rotation here. We'll see how that works. No Joe Ingles as well. So that's going to condense the second unit. We've been seeing Cole Anthony's minutes get cut down a little bit. Anthony Black's minutes are a little bit safer here. They're going to need a little bit of shooting and a little bit of ball handling. I would expect Caleb Houston to enter the rotation. We've been seeing Jonathan Isaac run a little bit of overlap here with Paolo Banchero, who's playing a lot, Franz playing a lot. So, yeah, it could be a little bit tighter. We'll see if Jamal Mosey tightens things up a little bit. Garrett Harris also should benefit, I should mention. But, yeah, interesting spot, Miami again. You know, it's a tough team to peg. You know, a team we were fading all the time for matchups, but now they've been pretty vulnerable.
Yeah, the center spot here is really tricky to project. You mentioned Jonathan Isaac been overlapping with Banchero a little bit. That's been minutes at the center spot. Those seem much less available now with the presence of Wendell Carter Jr. kind of back. So you've kind of got four players competing for minutes at the center spot that we've been seeing in terms of play during the course of the season. You mentioned Goga was not in that mix before the injury. And they certainly like Mo Wagner's offense in the second unit, and they like, you know, Mo Wagner kind of working with his brother Franz when Franz gets staggered in the second unit as well. So I think there's a pretty decent chance Goga goes away here. But it's very tricky when the guy's been starting and largely playing effectively. They've largely played well with him. So you could see some messy stuff here. Like you could see kind of minutes down for everybody and it get really, really messy. But yeah, it's not clean. It'll take a few games to sort out would be my guess on the.
I think your mic cut out. Stink. There you go. Now you're good.
Okay. Interesting. Let's go to Minnesota and Philadelphia. On the Minnesota side of things, no key players listed on the injury report, so none of the questionable tags that we've been dealing with the last few days. Any notes on Minnesota?
No, just they're good to go. We saw Jay McDaniels return from a sacral contusion. He was fine. He played pretty well defensively, despite how Hero got him early. A little bit of fouls, but yeah, I thought he played pretty well. Looked the part. And unfazed by the hip pointer thing. Quite obviously, didn't even list them today. So yeah, they're good to go and playing excellent basketball right now.
Philadelphia side of things, they're without Nicholas Batum today. They have questionable tags on Robert Covington and Marcus Morris, both due to illness. So kind of power forward injury, illness issues piling up for Philadelphia. What are your expectations for the 76ers tonight?
Yeah, bad day for it. Going against the big Wolves to lose some of your power forward depth. So, yeah, we saw Kelly Oubre kind of get Wally pipped by Nick Batum. So I would lean he would start, but kind of all bets are off. We know they started Marcus Morris as a 5. So you would think they'd be open to starting him here and giving him the cat assignment. So something to consider there. But yeah, I would lean Oubre. I wouldn't be totally shocked if they pull the Paul Reed card out. The problem is he's been like iced and losing minutes to Mo Bamba even as a center too. So that would be pretty shocking. but I wouldn't. It would, it's on the table, I think, at this point, despite how they haven't gone there. But yeah, could be pretty heavy minutes out of Tobias Harris. We'll see what kind of minutes Oubre gets. He's generally been hanging in the mid-20s, but we saw him before Batum was there. He was running up there, upper 30s. So pretty wide range for Oubre. And then should mention multiple illness tags. Keep an eye out. We know the Sixers don't report stuff, so they might pop somebody else on there, just how they've been handling injury reporting.
Yeah. I kind of think it's more likely that if Covington or Morris are available, that they start over Oubre personally. I just think they would like Oubre's offense kind of attached to Tyrese Maxey in the second unit, as opposed to with Joel and Maxey and Tobias all in the first unit. But they obviously started Oubre early in the season, so they were comfortable with that. So we'll see. The defensive attention and the floor spacing, though, from a Covington or even a Marcus Morris, who's not an elite defender or anything, but he competes on that end, is probably a little bit more comfortable to go against Cat than Oubre, who I assume would just go on Jaden McDaniels if he was starting. I assume Tobias would get the Cat designation there. Okay, let's move to Utah and Cleveland. On the Utah side of things, they're still without Jordan Clarkson and Keontae George, also without Omer Yurtseven. What are your notes on the Jazz tonight?
Yeah, a lot of lineup stuff to talk through here. Let's talk about John Collins returning. He was on a minutes limit last game, played 9 minutes in the first half, 11 in the second half, was playing pretty well. Had a really kind of a big run in the second half to help the Utah Jazz get a pretty big win. So I would expect him to be back in the starting lineup. And Simone Fontecchio, who's been running real hot as a starter for minutes because of Lauri's hamstring and John Collins's a week and a half illness, he could be really cut down here. And the next question is, what happens with Taylor Hendricks? The minutes went away, pressure from the front office to play him. So I think Simone Fontecchio's minutes could really crater. Walker Kessler back in the first unit, played really well in the first unit as well. Bad matchup against Allen, of course. And then Kelly Olynyk should be slotted behind him. We did see a little bit of John Collins center minutes. So it's kind of funny. Like, if they're going to play Taylor Hendricks, there's a lot of guys who could be vulnerable, including some of the backcourt. They could shift Ochai Agbaji to cut down Chris Dunn. So, yeah, really unclear. This has been a pretty big theme for Utah for a while. So I think that hopefully covers the depth. But let's talk about the backcourt. Colin Sexton is rolling here. Really strong usage. He's been one of the highest front court touch players in the NBA for guards. The usage has been strong. His potential assists have been really strong despite like really light handling. Like, he's made his touches count in a really significant way. Taylor Horton-Tucker, a really big handling role, big minutes, awesome game from him. Would expect him to start. Sexton, mentioned John Collins, Lauri, still on a minutes limit from his hamstrings. Maybe he hits 30 here. And then Walker Kessler also clearly off his minutes limit. So, yeah, a lot of moving parts on the depth, but feel pretty good about the starting lineup.
Yeah, we've talked about this all season with Utah, that they have just enough players that they want to get looks at, that they want to play, that you can end up with a bunch of box scores that end up with like 10, 11 guys, a bunch of guys in the 20s, and it's not super compelling. The backcourt injuries have allowed the backcourt guys specifically to get a little bit more elevated of late, so maybe they're a little bit more safe from that, but that's a risk with Utah just generally. I'd also note Colin Sexton revenge game, but also something that you should be thinking about or monitoring if you are betting props or betting on news or different situations and whatnot is, as soon as Kelly Olynyk was out of the starting lineup and Walker Kessler's in the starting lineup, the assist opportunities for Sexton and Taylor Horton-Tucker go up in those situations, simply because Kelly Olynyk is a player that you can run offense through a little bit more as a distributor. You can't do that stuff with Walker Kessler. You're going to use Walker Kessler as a screener more, and so that's going to open up kind of more of the ball handling and facilitating roles for the guards. So we saw each of them deliver 6 times this game. I haven't looked at the potential assist data from this game, but my guess would be that it would be strong. We've generally seen the lead guard role in Utah be very, very strong this year from a potential assist standpoint, because they're playing with guys like Lauri Markkanen or a role guy in that center spot. And when Olynyk's out there, it just changes the dynamic of the offense. So understanding kind of roles and how players fit in pieces is a key piece of betting on news and information and lineups and such.
11 potentials for THT, 12 for Colin Sexton. So, yeah, they were really slinging it.
So fair numbers. Yep. Cleveland side of things, going to be no Darius Garland and Evan Mobley for a while, no Ty Jerome as well. And now you've got Donovan Mitchell listed as questionable with illness. And man, I don't know what this would look like if you remove Donovan Mitchell from the equation. Obviously, we'd see a lot of Karis LeVert and a lot of Craig Porter Jr. as those guys would be the guys forced to create offense. But the whole thing could look a lot worse without Donovan Mitchell in the equation. So illness tag for Donnie. What are your notes on him and the rest of the Cavs?
Yeah, I think they would have to start Karras, right? We've seen Karras start at point guard before. That would be my lean. Certainly, I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of Craig Porter Jr. has been like iced by Sam Merrill. I'll get to him in a second, but those are the two candidates, right? They would start LeVert or Craig Porter Jr. Sam Merrill, as great as he was, again, I'll get to him. He's more of an off-ball guy, so would expect those two guys to cover the 48 one way or another. Certainly, Karras is going to get a boatload of minutes. He's off the minutes limit. He's lost minutes to like Sam Merrill, George Niang, and some bigger lineups has cut him down, but they would have to play him a ton, like quite clearly. Max Strus minutes would be mooning. Sam Merrill would benefit, and he closed. He was one of the biggest impact players in this win overall, so he would certainly be in the rotation. Man, Bickerstaff hit all the white player notes, called him like gritty and all that stuff, which was pretty funny to me. But and the front court straightforward. Like Jared Allen should play a bunch. Okoro will be a bunch in the wing. Minutes are way safer since they're going to have to allocate their wing depth more to guards. So he would kind of low key benefit as well. But yeah, if Donovan does miss, and he we'll be on alert for the. I have Donovan on alerts for. So if you see the hashtag, let him know. From Donovan Mitchell, that means he's usually playing. He has falsely tweeted that the one time. So all eyes on Donovan Mitchell's let him know tweet in 3-4 hours, whatever.
Good statistics there. Do you think it would be? How confident are you that you think the minutes between LeVert and Porter Jr. would be just a straight 48 combination? That they're like, do you feel like there could be overlap in that scenario?
Oh, no doubt.
Okay.
There will no doubt be overlap.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was just saying they cover that 48 plus 13, 14.
Cool. Got it. Yeah. So that would I mean, LeVert would be the chalkiest play on the slate by a wide margin, but Craig Porter Jr. would be in play as well in those scenarios. The Merrill emergence has definitely cut into both of those guys, and Merrill is a guy that fits in very well playing kind of alongside, especially if you're playing against like weaker offensive backcourts. It's a little bit easier because defensively the size on him and Donnie isn't great. But he's great off ball with Donnie. Like it's a really good fit, or with any primary ball handler that can just have a spot up shooter there because he's lights out from deep. Denver and Toronto. On the Denver side of things, Aaron Gordon listed probable with that right heel strain here. No one else listed. Peyton Watson and Nikola Jokic taking over the world with commercials. Love to see that. What are your notes on the Nuggets?
Yeah, hotels.com commercial. Check it out. It's really funny. Jamal Murray not listed, right? That's a good sign. We see him have a minutes cap. Hey, Canada boy, get a lot of narratives said, a lot of revenges, a lot of homecoming games. We'll see if Murray's minutes. I would expect them to come up. I don't think they're going to go full high because 2 ankle sprains and that bad hamstring strain from last month could keep him from upper 30s. But I won't be surprised if he gets like 33, 34, something like that here. Has killed Dennis Schroeder. So he could be kind of going off, especially with some bigger bodies to kind of cover Jokic. Curious to see how Darko handles Jokic. We saw Nick Nurse would put OG on Jokic a lot last year, so I'm a little bit unsure how that's going to play out with the new coaching staff. And should also mention Michael Porter Jr.'s minutes are down a little bit. It's actually been Peyton Watson nipping at him a little with the size that the Raptors have. I wouldn't be surprised if MPJ's minutes come down. There's like a ceiling case because they're vulnerable to shooting sometimes. But there's a bear case because if they want to play Peyton Watson to guard Scotty or Pascal with Aaron Gordon, then that would be the way to do it, I would say. They don't really want to take KCP out. So, just wanted to note that. This team's pretty solid. Strother's kind of locked in. Christian Brown's kind of locked in. Peyton Watson kind of locked in. And Zeke Naji was out of the rotation, came back in and played really well. So that's what we're probably expecting for the second unit. But, man, Michael Malone, he could really change his rotations in the second unit pretty quick.
Yeah. Toronto side of things, nothing on their injury report that I think we need to go through. Do you have any notes on the Raptors?
Yeah, just the handling. Scotty Barnes' handling has been really big, as we found out the hard way with the under on him. But yeah, his role is really growing, and this has been consequently taking Schroeder's role way down here. Potentials are way down, touch times way down. It's Scotty kind of coming to fruition here with the point Scotty talked that we talked a lot about in the offseason.
Yep. Knicks and Brooklyn on the Knicks side of things. Mitchell Robinson out for a long time. Jericho Sims listed questionable with the right ankle sprain. What are your notes on the Knicks?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Sims to play, and we got confirmation from Woj while we were recording. I think the timeline was 1 to 2 weeks, so he will certainly be out today, which quite obviously means Isaiah Hartenstein could play a ton. The question is, does Tibbs dare do what we don't want him to do? And that would be to start Taj Gibson, certainly on the table. I mean, I don't think you could do it against Nick Claxton, though. Just start Hartenstein. But it's Tibbs. We know he likes to bring him off the bench, yada, yada, yada. But regardless, you're going to get a lot of minutes out of Isaiah Hartenstein in a kind of iffy matchup with the way Claxton protects the paint. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Manuel quickly kind of back to life. He had a really strong game. Great matchup against the Lakers, who are weak at stopping guards, and Randall's been playing a ton. Jalen Brunson, we saw him dinged up a little bit earlier this month. He's kind of back to cruising as well. His drives are up and all that good stuff. So, and then Dante DiVincenzo's minutes are pretty shaky with so many guys competing behind him.
Now they went full 48, even with Sims missing, most of last game, just the 3 minutes last game. Taj 6 and Hartenstein 39 there against a big Lakers team. Brooklyn a little bit smaller. Brooklyn can obviously play Daron Sharp and play bigger in that method. I still am yearning to see some of the Julius Randle at center minutes from the Knicks, because I think it unlocks and gets just more minutes from kind of their best players in terms of Josh Hart and getting into like Josh Hart, RJ Barrett, DiVincenzo quickly, like Grimes, whoever's kind of going, they get the opportunity to play those minutes. The matchup with Brooklyn would seem to be a better path to that happening. Do you think it happens tonight?
I mean, Mitch Robinson's been hurt a lot in his career, and how long we've been doing this song and dance, and we've been disappointed like every time. So I doubt it, honestly. Like, again, it makes all the sense in the world, but we don't make the decision. So I would kind of lean no, but definitely possible.
All right, Brooklyn side of things, they're still without Ben Simmons, Dennis Smith Jr., and Lonnie Walker. Any notes on the Nets?
Yeah, off a big road trip. I mentioned they got kind of beat up by Utah, and there was some concern that guys were getting quote unquote worn down, which from Jacques Vaughn, as you remember from the opening night, is a concern. So keep an eye on that. Gives me some trepidation for sure about using them in a matchup that I think is a little bit better without Mitch. But should mention Cam Johnson looks like he got concussed, but he's okay. He was bleeding a little bit from his face. He's okay, good to go. So expecting the same starting lineup. We've been kind of thinking they would shake it up. This would be the spot to do it, right? To play Dorian Finney-Smith, put him on Julius Randle. Makes a ton of sense, but I thought that before and was wrong. So expect the same starting lineup. We'll see a lot of Dorian anyways, a little bit of Royce. We'll see if they get Daron in there. But I think that's kind of the main rotation. Just keep an eye out if they do change the lineup after things. Cam also played a lot. He could be one of the worn down guys.
Yep. Atlanta and Houston on the Atlanta side of things. Bogdanovich listed questionable here. Still without Jalen Johnson, though there was some positive reporting on his potential return. And then I should note, still without AJ Griffin because of personal reasons, but also without the G Leaguer Seth Lundy. Seth Lundy made like a first quarter appearance last game, so sort of notable that they're without the G Leaguers as well. What are your notes on Bogdanovich tonight?
Yeah, he got some treatment today, so it's kind of look like he's gonna miss. Keep an eye on that. But yeah, and it sounded like they were quote unquote hopeful he would play, but a lot of the indications are he's got a good chance to miss this one. So could miss. Don't have much to add besides that. Obviously, that would be the Seth Lundy stuff was wild, man. Don't really have too much to add other than it was just surprising. Again, seeing some more Okongwu and Capella overlap. DeAndre Hunter is still on a minutes limit, according to Quinn Snyder, so don't expect him to play a bunch. That could help Sadiq Bey, who played a ton. I've been talking about Sadiq Bey touching 40, and he went way past it. Not way, but past it. And then, just got to shout out Trae Young. Trae Young is cooking. 4 straight 30-10 games. Driving's been fantastic. He's way up there. He's up on efficiency. Matchup is terrible here. The Rockets are the best transition defense in the NBA by a lot. And they have Dylan Brooks to guard him, who's done pretty good over his career. So Trae, as hot as he is, he's second in potential assists over the span. He's like crushing all the role stats, and he's making efficiency too. So, yeah, that mostly covers it. But kind of want to bet the Rockets here today. Honestly, I really like how they match up with their transition defense against the Atlanta Hawks, who play really, really fast.
Patty Mills, the ninth man in the rotation tonight, if Bogdanovich can't go, or do you think they go 8?
I mean, they might roll Lundy out. Like they seem to like him.
Well, they have Lundy listed out as G Leaguer right now.
Okay,
So
they might
that's
call
why.
him up
That's
then.
why.
I don't know. Yeah, so we'll
Okay.
see. But yeah, I guess it would
Okay.
be. Oh no, they've gone to Trent Forrest. Usually, I was expecting to be Forrest, when he was
Okay.
out. So that was not that was. So I would expect him if he continues to stay listed out.
Okay. Houston side of things, Jayshawn Tate questionable, Amen Thompson questionable. What are your notes on the Rockets?
Yeah, Amon Thompson went through some shoot around stuff, so it sounds like he's back. I don't know if it matters. Does take a little bit of upside off some players. Obviously, big minutes in this overtime game. Tara Eason just keeps coming, man. He's taking someone's minutes. He's taking Jalen Green's minutes. He's taking Jabari Smith's minutes. He's even taking Alfred Şengün's minutes in some spots. I don't expect that to happen today. Şengün actually my cover boy today with how bad the Hawks are on the glass, and their rim defense has been terrible. So I'm into Şengün to add that. But Tari's just coming, and I don't know if Jayshawn Tate coming back will affect this some way. Amen Thompson maybe takes a little bit away from Aaron Holiday, but I think they're playing too well to play a rookie right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Amen Thompson doesn't even play.
All right, Lakers and Bulls. On the Lakers side of things, Rui Hachimura listed available, Jared Vanderbilt probable, Gabe Vincent probable. So they're getting all kind of their secondary pieces back. Anthony Davis and LeBron James once again listed questionable. The Anthony Davis is now the left ankle sprain instead of, I think it was abductor before. LeBron James still that left calf contusion. What are your notes on the Lakers?
Yeah, let's start with AD. This is not the fake tag. They've been listing him with that adductor hip thing for weeks, right? And just disregard it. But he tweaked his ankle here. This is a back-to-back. It is a hometown game for Chicago-born Anthony Davis, so that's a factor. He went off his last Chicago game, went for 38, 14, and 4 or something. So expecting him to play, but again, this is not a, hey, we can fire into this fake tag kind of situation, especially with the back-to-back. So be aware of that if you're looking to bet any unders here against a team that's been interesting matchup. Like I kind of wanted to bet this game for the Bulls, which is weird. And whenever I want to bet the Bulls, they've actually won, I feel like. But the Torrey Craig thing's a big deal. I'll get to that in a second. It's because the Lakers are really, really rim dependent. They're top 5 in rim points allowed, isn't they allow the fewest. And then top 5 in rim points 4. And the Bulls are like the opposite. They're dead last in points 4 at the rim, and they defend the rim pretty well. So it's a pretty good matchup for them from a stylistic standpoint. But sorry for a little tangent there. But yeah, Gabe Vincent back, that could definitely affect some things. We'll see how Cam Reddish's minutes hold up. He would be kind of more vulnerable. We'll see if the Austin Reeves and D'Lo overlap goes away. We've seen that kind of ramp up. It's kind of like roller coastering with the overlap there. Rui Hachimura, I think minutes could come down. Jared Vanderbilt hurt his heel again last game, but he's okay. Listed probable, but keep an eye on that. So yeah, this is going to be really tricky. Like I'm pretty sure that I think Jackson Hayes is probably out. Christian Wood already out. I think Reddish's minutes could come down a lot. I think Taurean Prince is generally pretty safe here, but he could come down too. Yeah, this is a really tricky situation with Gabe Vincent coming back.
Yeah, and the Bulls tend to play smaller guard units now in the absence of that Zach LaVine. It's a lot of Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Javon Carter. It's Alex Caruso, who plays kind of all over for them, so hard to call him purely a guard, but it's a lot of kind of smaller guys, not bigger guys, and so that does make Cam Reddish a little bit more vulnerable as his defensive purpose is more against kind of bigger wings, and Taurean Prince would have the DeMar DeRozan assignment. So yeah, if Taurean Prince and Cam Reddish's minutes might be more attached to one another than they've been in the past because Gabe Vincent is now competing in that mix as well. Let's move to the Bulls side of things. Alex Caruso, probable left ankle sprain revenge game for him. Patrick Williams, probable right calf strain. As you mentioned there, without Zach LaVine and Torrey Craig for a while here. So what are your notes on the Bulls?
Yeah, Zach LaVine doing straight line running, which is not great for my guy Kobe White, who's been just sun running. In December, there's only 2 players in the NBA with 30 minutes or more with more usage and better true shooting, Joel Embiid and Kawhi Leonard. Kobe, as we know, anyone who bets his unders knows this man is just out there to take your money. But yeah, he's great. But so let's talk about Caruso, right? He came off the bench last game, and we've seen him kind of come off the bench. Commentary from Billy Donovan all year has been like, okay, hey, I want to start him. I want to play him in shorter stints, frequent, blah 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 blah. But without Torrey Craig, I think it makes sense to bring him off the bench, and you're like almost making him Craig defensively, and then you're kind of filling in his minutes with Ayo Dosunmu, Javon Carter, and those guys. So I would expect Dosunmu to get the start again. Obviously, the minutes floor would come way, way down because Caruso is going to probably get his when you need it, right? You need the wing defense to spell Patrick Williams, who will get the LeBron assignment to start. So expecting Kobe, Ayo Dosunmu, DeMar DeRozan, Vooch, and Pa to get the start. A lot of Caruso, a lot of Javon, and then Drummond. We'll see a little bit of Dalen Terry as well. Could be pretty elevated minutes here, even though they are in a back-to-back. So keep an eye on that one.
All right, let's move to the Clippers and Dallas. On the Clippers side of things, illness is ravaging. Norm Powell and Paul George both listed questionable here. Bones Highland listed questionable with a knee issue. What are your notes on the Clippers?
Yeah, illness tags here. Certainly Paul George getting it first, and then Norm Powell getting it today. So yeah, kind of a chain of custody here with the way that this illness thing is kind of going around. But yeah, I don't have a great read on this situation. If both are out, Amir Coffey's going to start. If Paul George is out, I feel pretty confident Amir Coffey's going to start regardless. We saw him get that one game fill in when Paul George had a hip issue. So Coffey would probably get the start regardless. If no George, that's kind of straightforward. If they're both out, that would really help out Russ Westbrook's minutes. We've seen the overlap go almost away with Harden. That would have to be in play. We'll see if Bones Highland can return from this knee thing that's been bothering him. They would probably just run it tight here. I think they want to get this game pretty bad. Got to mention Kawhi Leonard, the hottest man on the planet. Last 8 games during this hot stretch, he's first in true shooting among the 80 players with 30 minutes or more, or 76 true shooting. He's just freaking killing it. And Harden, too. He's right behind him, 73 true shooting. His jump shooting has been killer. He's playing really, really well. Not driving as much like his peak Harden, but the distributing's been really strong. And it's just the shooting. His jump shooting is completely on right now. So Clippers are dangerous. Best offense in this rich stretch here. Talked about him on the pod, so you can check that out if you want to listen to more Clipper stuff.
If Paul George and Norm Powell are out and Bones Highland is available, you think Highland gets the Powell role, not the full 30-minute type role, but do you think he gets the bulk of that? It would seem like they need some scoring off the bench, and I know they've really downgraded Bones quite a bit. But what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, he would be in there. I think almost say he would become Westbrook, and then Westbrook would become Norm, kind of like that. Not like a 1-for-1, but I think just as far as the hierarchy and the minutes would go, that's kind of how I would perceive it.
Makes sense. Dallas side of things, just straight out tags here. Derek Lively, Maxi Kleber, Kyrie Irving, Josh Green, all listed out. What are your notes on the Mavericks?
Just Luka. Unbelievable role. He's 10 minutes of touch time. He's playing 40 minutes a game since Kyrie went down. The usage is ridiculous. He's first in touch time, potential assists, and drives per game in this stretch. He just has the best role in the NBA. We know he likes to beat the Clippers. We'll see what kind of coverage they send to him. Dante Exum has actually been more efficient than Kawhi Leonard, but he doesn't have the minutes criteria that I use for that stat. But he's been playing really, really well. I expect him to start. Despite how Mavs Twitter, made everyone mad because they tweeted out Seth Curry was going to start. And then it turns out it was Exum. So, yeah, they're going to need the wing defense. We know poor Grant Williams is going to have to guard Kawhi Leonard. Derek Jones Jr. would guard Paul George if he's out there. And then Dante Exum would be guarding James Harden in the spot. No Derek Lively again. Not on crutches anymore, in a walking boot, expecting to miss multiple games. Old Dwight Powell, the old, the cockroach, as Zach Lowe calls him, expect him to start here. We didn't really get Rashawn. I'm not sure if it was illness related why Rashawn Holmes didn't get more minutes, especially in the matchup there, but something to watch as Markieff Morris picked up a little bit. They even went to Greg Brown a little bit for garbage, but that's expecting that starting lineup for sure. I would expect Powell to start.
Okay. Boston and Sacramento. Boston, second night of back-to-back, has not filed here. Our expectation is that we will not see Al Horford tonight, but that we will see Kristaps Porzingis. Jason Tatum had that ankle injury yesterday, ended up playing through it, but kind of struggled, wasn't super effective through it. What are your notes here on the Celtics and what we could expect later when they file?
Yeah, I mean, Just a lot of minutes here, right? I mean, we've seen them rest players. I think they might rest more people. Certainly, as you said, Al Horford has like got to sit. Um, Kristaps should be back, but we know Jaylen Brown's been playing through this little ankle thing. You know, Tatum looked terrible. I can't believe how many freaking layups they missed. And we got some bangers yesterday. TNT got some bangers. You know, John Morant game winner. This game was fantastic. The Suns game was pretty good last night. You know, hey, you know, we hit our over-unders in the Spurs Bucks game, so we like that game. But yeah, kind of an unclear situation, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than Horford sitting.
Okay. Kings side of things, their injury report's really clean, just without Jordan Ford, Alex Len, and Jalen Slauson. What are your notes on the Kings?
Yeah, nothing. Keon Ellis is locked in the minutes. Mike Brown basically confirmed that. De'Aaron Fox playing well. Sabonis quite obviously crushed the last matchup, triple-double, like easy game. Keegan's cooking. You know, his minutes are really safe again. Team's pretty solid here. Kevin Huerter still can't get minutes ceiling because Malik Monk's behind him. So we know the Fox and the front court guys are really secure. Huerter's on thin ice. Monk is certainly established. Trey Lyles in the mix. And then I mentioned Keon Ellis is going to get the non-Foxes.
Yep. All right. That'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you're interested in supporting our content, you can support our mission by subscribing to this YouTube channel, get notifications whenever we go live. We are in the midst of the pursuit of 5,000 subscribers. We're at 4,720 something. So we're 4,270, one of those numbers. It's somewhat flipped, but we're like, you know, within 1,000. So subscribe to the channel, help us reach our goal of 5,000 YouTube subscribers by the end of the NBA season. Also should note, if you're interested in joining our premium content, you can see on the screen, establishedrun.com/subscribe-NBA for more information around our packages. We will have some discounted holiday pricing coming forth as well that I will make sure to let you all know about when we have that in place. Also, if you really like the free content that we're providing here and want more of it, please consider smashing that like button and helping feed the algorithm. It helps feed our families, which allows us to feed you the NBA injury information analysis you need each and every day to set your season-long lineups, your DFS lineups, and make your spread bets and prop bets. So smash that like button, feed the algorithm. Nom, 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 nom.